Before we ever reached Billy's Island, the Okefenokee reminded us who lives here. Alligators, laid up along the edges, still as driftwood until you notice the curve of a back, the shape of a head, eyes just above the surface. Not one or two, a bunch. And it's not scary, it's clarifying. It sets the tone for the whole day. Move quiet, give space, and let the swamp be what it is. Today it's just me, Tina, and Boogie. We're in the Okefenokee, heading toward Billy's Island for the first time. No agenda, no big goal. Just one of those days where the point is to see what's there and let the place set the pace. The swamp has a way of making you slow down without asking. You feel it in the water, in the distance, in how sound carries and then doesn't. Even the light feels different out here, like it's been filtered through time. And on a day like this, the paddle-in is part of it, not a sprint to the good part. The good part starts the moment you stop trying to rush. And the longer you stay steady, the more the swamp shows you without being forced. Eventually, we work our way to the canoe landing, and the closer we get, the quieter everything becomes. Not empty, just settled.
All right, we're here at the dock at Billy's Island. Y'all go ahead. We're gonna walk in here and explore Billy's Island. Look at these big old oak trees and pine trees. And then we're gonna have us a little picnic lunch. And then we're gonna head back out.
We're on foot now, moving slow, letting the trail unfold. The first thing I notice is the trees, not just that they're big, though they are, but how they hold their space. The pines rise straight and clean, like they've been practicing patience for a long time.
Look how big these pine trees are. They're huge. Nice and cool in here, nice breeze. All right, me and Bugs going on exploring. Explore Billy's Island. There's Mama. Hey, Mama.
Ready?
You ready? Look over this way.
And the oaks have that heavier presence, wide limbs, old posture, like they've seen every kind of weather a swamp can throw at them. You don't rush a place like this. You don't even really tour it. You just walk and pay attention and try to notice what most people step past. We come up on the old cemetery, and I always feel the same thing when I find one out in the woods or the swamp. Quiet respect and a kind of perspective you can't fake. No need for commentary, no need to make it dramatic, just a reminder that people lived real lives out here. They worked, they traveled, they got sick, they raised families, they buried their people, and the swamp kept doing what the swamp does. We stand there a moment longer than we have to, long enough to feel it.
So there's 15 to 20 people here. See, it said ran over by a train and killed by a train. There was a train here whenever they was logging. When the loggers come in, they built train tracks to get the logs out. You see, it says the flu epidemic of 1918. That's sort of similar to the same thing we just went through in 2020 and 2021 with COVID. Same exact epidemic. That's a pretty neat pine tree. Goes up and splits, and then splits again. Look how big it is at the base. Go stand by that boat to give them a visual. Put your arms around it. Yeah,
Wow.
that's a huge pine tree.
There's a spider web.
Huge pine tree. Can you imagine living here? You would be, I mean, you would know nothing that's going on in the world.
But you know what? You'd be happy.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you'd be absolutely
You'd be
happy.
happy because you wouldn't have to worry about other things going on. You know how we worry about. Was it just the leaf that lived down here?
You know, there was a lot of people that lived here. Well, I don't know. I say a lot. I don't know how many.
I want to see the old train tracks.
palm trees is what's amazing me. I wonder how many acres this is actually. Probably a good bit. A big old live oak tree.
Well, I think this is one in the middle facing.
Oh well.
Where is that one?
All the white marks on the tree.
Then we move on. Not far from there, we start seeing old train remnants, bits and pieces, iron shape, alignment, enough to make your mind try to fill in the rest, enough to imagine what it took to bring machinery into a place like this, why they really tried. You look at those remnants and you realize how hard people used to push against the landscape. And then you look at the landscape and you realize who won.
Oh, old like cable wire.
Yeah. There's some more up here. More remnants. Who knows what that was? And what that was, that's the frame to an old car. There's the wheel light. So it's probably a frame to the old rail cars. Yep. Yep, that's the deal. Pretty neat. The rail car that they moved the lumber with.
In contact it is.
Yep. And here's some more up here. Yep, there's another piece of the car or something. Pretty neat. No, I left it back there. We're almost back.
Oh, this is like a grill, like breathing pump.
The trail keeps looping and the trees keep showing off in quiet ways. There's a certain kind of beauty that doesn't ask to be photographed. It just exists. It doesn't perform. It doesn't try to impress you. It's not saying, look at me. It's saying, this is what's here. We keep walking. Tina and Boogie moving ahead and behind in that natural rhythm you get when nobody's rushing, when conversation comes and goes, when you can hear your steps and the insects and the wind shifting in the canopy. And every now and then we stop, not because there's a landmark, but because something small caught our eye. A texture in the bark, a patch of light, the way the trail bends. Sometimes that's the whole point of a day like this, not the destination, not the checklist, just practicing attention.
A lot of history here. A lot of history. People have lived on this island for 4,000 years. That's a lot of history. That's before Jesus walked the earth. Hard to tell exactly where the trail goes here. It didn't have them white markers on the tree. You could wander off that way. It looks like some people have. And maybe, oh, here it is. Here's the trail.
Some of the markers I see on the ground.
Yeah. All right, we're back. We're gonna set up and have us a little lunch, and then relax a little while and get back in the canoe. Head on.
Eventually, we find a good place to settle in for lunch. Nothing fancy. A simple picnic, food that travels well, a little rest, a little water, and this is one of those underrated skills, making a meal feel calm even when you're outside, not turning lunch into a production. Not spilling gear everywhere, just a small clean setup, and then you eat. You sit in the shade and let the swamp do what it does. There's a moment, mid-lunch, where you can feel your body unclench. Like your shoulders finally got the message. You don't have to do anything right now. You can just be here. Boogie is settled. Tina's relaxed.
Here's the robins.
I'm looking around at the trees again, and I keep thinking about how long they've been standing, how many people have come through here, how many didn't, and how the swamp holds all of it without making a speech. Then we head back toward the landing. Same trail, different feeling. That's another thing about exploring somewhere new. You can walk the same path twice, and it won't be the same walk. The first time, you're learning it. The second time, you're remembering it. We step back onto the landing and settle back into canoe mode. Slow movements, quiet movements. You don't want to slip. You don't want to bang around. You don't want to fight the boat. You just reboard like you've done it 1,000 times, and you push off clean. And now it's water again. The canoe changes everything. On foot, you're part of the island. In the canoe, you're part of the swamp. We start paddling out, and the day feels exactly like what it is. An exploring day in a place we've never been. No dramatic turning point, no big lesson forced into it. Just a calm trip that adds a new location to your mental map. And those are the trips that build the most confidence, because they teach you what normal feels like. They teach you what the place sounds like when nothing is wrong. And when you know what normal sounds like, you notice the changes faster later on. If you've been watching for a while, you've seen how different each day can be out here. We've got that full canoe camping trip where we counted 162 alligators, same swamp, completely different feel, and another day paddle with me and Tina where we ended up spotting a black otter, of all things. That's why we keep coming back. The Okefenokee doesn't repeat itself. We keep moving, steady pace, easy strokes. Tina and Boogie out here with me, the swamp opening and narrowing in its own way, the water dark and reflective, the trees leaning in close like they're listening. And that's the whole thing. This isn't about conquering anything. It's about being quiet enough to receive what the place is offering. A new trail, old history, big trees, a simple lunch, a clean paddle out. By the time we're leaving, I feel that familiar kind of satisfaction. Not adrenaline, not we survived, just a grounded feeling that we spent the day well. We explored a place we'd never been, and we left it the way we found it. That's the kind of trip that holds up, and that's enough. Where the map ends, the wild begins. Stay rugged.
Thank y'all for watching Blackwater Outdoor Journeys. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave me a comment. And remember, where the map ends, the wild begins. Stay rugged.